thanks for doing it, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries, man.
It'll just be like a couple of questions, a few questions about like you and your music and stuff, and it'll
Cool,
just be a
man.
short thing. Is that
All right, cool, man. Sounds good.
cool, man? Cheers. Like so obviously I was reading up about you about you've obviously you work with lots of as different lots of different projects, don't you?
Yeah, yeah. I've done a lot of different things with a lot of different people.
I, I always think when you do things like that though, Joe, obviously you've got different things. How do you decide which piece of music goes to like the different outlets you use?
Um, I think I sort of operate on instinct, and when you know, I'll have a like a need. Go on, Carl. Go on, girl. Let my doggy in. Yeah, I'm on the balcony. Yeah, yeah. It's just kind of like I mean, there's just I feel a pull to something, and I go in and do it because there's always a lot of different things to do and too many things to do, not enough time to do them in. So um, sometimes that's the thing. I'll be doing something else and be like, I really want to do that thing. And so when I get a minute, I'm like, I'm going to jump into that. Or something comes along and I'm like, oh, okay, that's what I'm going to do. And so, I mean, it's organized chaos, but sometimes things get pushed back, and other things come up and I deal with those. And then at some point I get back to them when I get back to them.
Did you find it hard?
I'm really good at juggling things and I sort of thrive on it. I don't find it difficult. I mean, I think there's always moments, when you realize the madness of it and you're like, holy shit, I've really, you know, painted myself into a corner. But I work so fast that that's what saves me, to be honest. I mean, I can just get through stuff, and I kind of tend to deal with things as they come as well, so they don't stack up. So I just like have to find a spare minute to do something. Like
Yeah.
I just gotta like fit that in. If as soon as there's a window, I jump in there, I get it done, and so for my mental kind of headspace, that's really good to kind of not get it too, it's like doing the dishes as you go along, what I mean, before they stack up and it becomes this overwhelming thing you don't want to do, that you can never
Yeah,
seem to finish.
definitely.
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
Oh, that's cool, man. I was reading that you can play like loads of instruments as well. Like,
Yeah, I played loads of instruments. I mean,
do you remember the first one that you sort of fell in love with? The first instrument you fell in love with?
yeah, I first started on guitar, and I shortly after that I started playing drums, and then I started playing drums and guitar back and forth for a lot of years. Sometimes more of the other, and it would swap. And then in between that, I started picking up other things, percussion instruments, and then bass eventually, and then bits of keyboards, and then I started collecting lots of more exotic stringed instruments, and just at a certain point, I just started having to go at almost anything. You
I'd
know what I
love to hear
mean?
that. I tried to play the guitar, but my fingers are too fat. I couldn't get my head on the chords.
Well, I got fat fingers too, man. I got like
I think
sausage
I think I'm
hands.
just using that as an excuse because I couldn't do it.
Well, I mean, you gotta have the right guitar, that's got a wide fretboard, and you got like some of my guitars, you know, I find really difficult to play, but they sound good, and then there's other ones that really fit my hands, and they're comfortable, and I can play better on them, But
Yeah.
I think sometimes you know you have to be willing to get into like a little bit of a fight sometimes. You have to be able to like I need to struggle with this and win to get the sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes the thing that's harder to play sounds better, and therefore, you can't make things for ease. You have to make things to. Sometimes you have to, suffer for your art sometimes and work a little bit harder.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely. So obviously I've liked your music anyway. So I like your music because it's like sort of blends different genres. I think. Like I really enjoy it. It's like, is that something you set out to do, or did it just happen?
Well, I was always drawn to music. I mean, I always loved it, and I was always really into listening to records and listening to the radio, and it was like a portal to another place. Like a really vivid, inspiring world. And I started to imagine myself, like playing when I listened to records and playing along, and just saw myself in that kind of realm. And then I wanted to start playing, I wanted a guitar, and I asked for a guitar. I must have been probably about 10, maybe, and maybe a little bit younger, and finally convinced my parents to buy me a cheap little guitar. And then they could see that I was into it, so they bought me a slightly better guitar, and then a slightly better guitar. I was a natural, and I loved playing, and I got better quick. Once I started to play, if I'm being totally 100% honest, I knew that's what I was going to do. That's what I
Yeah.
wanted to do.
You just
I
get a feel
imagined
for it when something like that, when you say you wanted, that's what you want
it's
to
like I
do.
found my purpose, in life. And it was like, I knew I wanted to make records. I knew I wanted to tour. I wanted to be a professional musician. And there was never anything else that I wanted to do after that. I was totally all in on that.
That's ace. I love that. Do you approach music differently now, like to how you obviously you started a long time ago? So it's a lot's
Uh,
changed since then.
no, I think, I mean, obviously I have a lot of experience now, and I put a lot of hours into it, but I'm still, you know, a big kid, and I'm enthusiastic, and I still think instinctually, and I listen with my ears, and I'm charmed by stuff that sounds good, you know. So,
Yeah,
I'm still like open and childlike and very creative, and approach it like you do when you're a child, when you don't, think about the theoreticals and the rules. And I'm still very much by feel and intuition, and I feel like that's the right way to go about it, at least for me. I'm not, I'm always learning stuff, but there's a certain amount of the theoretical stuff that helps sometimes, but I try not to operate on that level. It's more by feel and by sound and by listening, and being a part of the process of it. Being the instrument yourself, and allowing the music to kind of come through you and to manipulate you and play you as much as you're playing it. I've gotten really good at being a cog in that wheel. I feel like I have a deep connection to that. I don't honestly fully understand how it works. I think it operates in the realm of the slightly magical, slightly mystical, and forces. You know, forces in the world that you can't see, kind of stuff. He's hounding me, but yeah, I
I've got
mean,
to ask about Bully because it was obviously a big game for me at the time when I was younger. Did you expect because
yes,
the soundtrack's become a bit of a cult classic? Did you expect that when
it
you made
has,
it?
yeah. I had no idea. I mean, in all honesty, I had no idea that it was a big gig. It got offered to me, and I took it, and I did it, and it was a lot of work, and it was a lot of overdubs, man. It was hours, man. It was better part of a year I worked on that.
Really?
Full time. Yeah, I mean, like 10-hour days, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. It nearly killed me. But obviously, I remember when the game came out, and I remember I remember like every now and again hearing things about the game and about the music, and about, oh, people are really into this music. People love this. And I'm like, really? But and I was a bit skeptical at first, thinking, yeah, okay, it's nice, people like it, it's good, it's good, it's good. And then it just kept coming back to me, and at a certain point, I started to realize that it struck a nerve, it resonated for whatever reasons, and I didn't really understand why, but I was happy that people liked it, and
Oh,
but
it
over
did
the
its job
years,
because I ended up buying was it Between the Sheets or Beats Between the Sheets?
oh, Beats Between the Sheets,
I've
yeah,
had
yeah, that's
that
my favorite.
album, and is it Disco? No, that was Disco Seduction was a song, wasn't it? I had another album through it as well. Is it one called Clutch of the Tiger? Or is that song?
Oh, Clutch the Tiger, yeah, with Clutchy, yeah, yeah.
Yes, I had
I'm,
them on CD. I haven't got them anymore, to be fair.
oh,
I stupidly got rid of my CDs, and I regret. It's my biggest regret.
you're a loser, bro.
I know but I collect vinyl now, so I'll have to look for some of your albums on vinyl.
I still have about 3 billion CDs, man. I
I
was just
have got
looking
some in
at
the
it the other
loft. I
day,
hid
just
some up in the
thinking.
loft, so maybe it's still up there, hopefully.
But yeah, I mean, I think over the years, obviously I've realized, that the game has, the soundtrack to Bully has a legacy, and uh, and people feel strongly about it, and that they, it was a part of their, life, and they have a lot of nostalgia and memories for it, and a lot of younger musicians played the game and discovered me through the game and became inspired, to be a musician themselves because of the Bully score. And
Yeah, it's
that's
great.
happened quite often over the years where I've met other musicians places and they were like, that Bully changed my life. Your music was such an inspiration. So, I had no idea that was going to happen, but it's quite a nice thing, it's,
How do you approach
I'm
it
all
with a
for it.
game? Because do you get to see sort of what you're writing the music to when you do a game?
No, I didn't, and I honestly, the first time I saw the game with my music in it was about, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago when my youngest daughter bought bought it and played it. And so it's really, really interesting to watch the game and hear the music. And it kind of blew my mind a bit. And I was like, wow, okay, great. It gave me a new appreciation for it. And also it was super cool seeing my daughter playing it, the game and enjoying the music and all of that stuff.
Oh,
It,
that's
it was
cool.
nice, and she would play, the riffs on piano, and she would go do 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 do.
Yeah.
And that was really cool. I mean, we played it together a few times. It was really fun.
Is there any sort of past projects you'd like to revisit and sort of redo, or because a lot of people do that now,
Yeah,
don't they?
yeah, I would love to do. I always wanted to do another Clutchy album. And that never happened. We did the two. Well, I'd love to go back and do another one of those. Love to do another Electric Peanut Butter Company album. I did two of those. Uh, and I mean, there's other things. There's some of my newer projects that I want to go back and do another installment on. There's just never enough time, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, and I do kind of like starting new projects, more than going back to older ones. Um, but it's nice to build up a series. Two or three, albums in a series is quite good. It's like a trilogy, and it's a good kind of comprehensive body of work. Three albums.
Yes. I speak to a lot of like new like people that are just starting out. Would you have any advice for them for like any sort of one starting them just starting their music journey?
Never grow up. Never grow up.
Yeah.
I think life's too short to do music that you don't want to do. So I think find the music that's inside of you, and the music that that really you know shows people who you are, and do that and be the best at that. Do the best version of you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you got to find your own voice, but that you have to try lots of things, before you can do that. It's not like a point. point A to point B kind of scenario. But I mean, my motto, really is I do what I like and I like what I do, and that's a pretty simple code to kind of operate by. I'm not chasing money. I'm not chasing fame. I'm not chasing you know recognition or prestige. Or I kind of feel like by just staying in my lane and doing my thing the way I do it, being authentic, into myself, and just trying to be the best version of myself, that and always get better. That's my pursuit. And I think whatever happens around that's what happens around that, and I go with it. I go with it. Or sometimes it's, sometimes you're going against something, you know what I mean? You're going in a different direction, than what other people are doing, because that's what you're doing. And I'm totally cool with that. I'm totally cool with plowing my own, field. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
I
cool,
don't
man.
I don't care. I don't really care about what other people are doing. I mean, obviously in some areas I care more than others, but somebody was asking me about, do I have any favorite video game composers the other day, and I'm like, no, man, I don't. I couldn't even name you one. I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? I don't even know
Yeah,
who they are. It's like they don't exist in my world. If you know what I mean. And I don't mean
yeah,
that in an arrogant way. I just mean that they just don't. You know, they don't exist in my world. I'm not looking there. If I'm doing a video game, I'm doing a video game in my way. You know what I mean? And it won't be how
yeah,
other people are doing it. And that's the point, really. It's about doing something individual. And yeah, I mean, I tend to come across the people I need to come across. The people that you have kinship with. You find out we find out about each other eventually.
yeah,
The world's quite small like that, and other musicians find you, and I mean, I'm lucky. People get in contact with me. I'm very, as you can see, I'm very approachable, and I talk to people,
yeah. I love that.
and I've met a lot of cool people doing that, and made my life way more interesting by doing that. So I like to think that it's the connections that you make through music are so important. I mean, it's a whole other side from the creative side. It's that kind of thing about where the music resonates with people, and that's a really beautiful byproduct. And it's nice to talk to people, and it makes me feel good that I know that people get something out of what I do as well, and that
Yeah,
it means something to them, and that they've enjoyed it, or it's inspired them, or even if it just made them tap their toe. It's like job done.
yeah.
It's a
That's
good
cool.
feeling. It's not the reason I do it in the first place, but it's a really beautiful reward. You can't put a price tag on that, man. It's priceless.
Yeah, it's got to feel great as a musician as well.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. What's next up for you then? What's happening next? You said
I'm
you're
going
going
on.
to tour.
I'm going on tour tomorrow, actually, with some Gun Silver Fox, and I'm going to be gone almost until Christmas. So we're going to be touring all over Europe, UK, 2 trips to America, Spain, Germany, Holland,
Oh wow.
France, Poland. So I'm doing that. I've got a big composing gig at the moment, which I've been working on, which I'm going to continue to work on in next year, which I can't really talk about. But I've got a couple, you know, records of mine coming out next year, and Young Gun's got a live album coming out very soon.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I mean, there's always shit happening, man. There's always shit. I'm always working away. I've been doing sessions for people, yeah,
Busy man.
all kinds of people, man. All different kinds. What was that?
You're a busy man.
Yeah, yeah. I'm always busy, man, and I keep myself busy, and then other people keep me busy on top of me keeping myself busy, and they sort of feed each other. But you know, I'm in a way I'm sort of powerless to organize it any better, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean. It's just like sometimes I think, God, it's just crazy, and I do enjoy it, but I just think, oh, God, it'd just be really great if I could, having the right balance is always difficult to achieve. It's just there's only so many hours in the day. I mean, if I'm doing one thing, I can't do something else, and I try to fit it all in. But you know, if I'm on tour, I'm not home. And so there's those compromises. If I'm in the studio, I'm not at home either. So it's kind of, yeah. I mean, you just can't. It's just not. There's not enough of me to go around. To be honest, I do the best I can. I mean, I'm try to take everything head on and um, take everything as well as I can do it. But obviously, it's a uphill battle.
Yeah. Oh well, that's it really. Like that was it. Like just a little chat, man. I really appreciate you doing it.
Yeah, you're most welcome.
Thank you so much.